Welcome to The Impossible, where we empower others to face the impossible, inspire them to be impossible, and motivate them to do the impossible. I'm your host, Matt, and I'm here, as always, with my brother, Austin Douglas. How you doing today, man?
Fantastic. Hello, everyone.
Yeah. We, you guys know we are spending the entire next several weeks doing part of our series, along with Austin's adaptations that he's been wrapping up. We are highlighting a lot of different stories about people who have been impacted in some way by childhood cancer. And we pull a lot of the lessons that they've learned, and a lot of our guests we're honored to have on here offer such incredibly unique perspectives in the process of battling through childhood cancer, how to move forward in that fight, and how to face life and chase life afterward. And today we're extremely excited to bring on two guests actually for you guys. And you guys remember Natalie Zambori from several months ago. She was on. She told her story of battling through leukemia with her son Leo, and she told a lot of Leo's story as well. But today we are incredibly honored to have Leo Zambori himself on the podcast, 13 years old. And really what we want to bring you guys today is to show you, some of you may be battling childhood cancer now. Some of you may know somebody who's battling through it. But Leo is a shining example of how you can go through that battle, you can go through that fight, and then you can come out the other side, rebuild and regain your strength and confidence, and chase all of your passions and purpose and dreams that you have for life. And he exemplifies that with everything he does. He's chasing a lot of different sports right now, which we'll dive into. He's an incredible athlete. He loves to eat a lot of really good food, which we just finished doing. And I'm just incredibly excited for you guys to hear his perspective and like what he's chasing in life, and show you a glimpse of what life can look like after childhood cancer. Because you guys have all seen the St. Jude's commercials, and they're a phenomenal organization. I never want to talk down on them. But so much of the time they show kids who are battling or have battled childhood cancers, these beaten down, broken kids. It's kind of like the sad puppy dog commercial effect. And while that seems to work for them and you know, triggers a lot of fundraising and really hits on the emotional side, and there is some truth to it. There are those days, those hard days that you have. So while that can exist, what never gets highlighted, and what we hope to highlight, is the absolute strength and perseverance and positivity and passion that these kids build in themselves from going through such a journey, and how they can use that in their life going forward. So Leo, man, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So tell everybody, how old are you right now?
13.
13, and what grade are you in?
8th.
8th grade, man. That's incredible. And first of all, I want to commend you for just being willing to come on and chat with us, because that takes a lot of strength and bravery in and of itself. Like, I remember back when I was in 8th grade, and I'm pretty sure like the thing I was most concerned about was whether the cafeteria was going to have chocolate milk that day or not. So to come on and chat with us like this, man, that's incredible. And we appreciate you doing this. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be able to help a lot of people. So I know, much like your mom, you're an incredible athlete. So what are some of the sports that have been your favorites that you've played in the past, and what are some of the things you're doing now that you love?
So golf, cross country, I run.
Okay.
And baseball's like just there.
Kind of on the back burner,
Yeah.
like an off-season sport. Yeah. So when did you get into running initially?
What even was it? Like, I think it was from Nolan running.
Okay.
And that was that it? Or
And that's your older brother, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Doing 5Ks when you were in treatment.
Yeah, I think I started running like in treatment.
You were running
just
5Ks
do
while you were on
something.
chemo?
I did one the day after chemo.
That's unbelievable, man. Like, I remember, holy
Wow.
cow. Austin remembers, I remember, like, when we were on treatment, like, there were some days we couldn't even get out of bed,
Yeah.
let alone, and I know you had some days like that, too.
It wasn't a very good 5K, but
Hey, man, but you're out there
You're
doing
out
it.
there.
Yeah.
Wow.
What drove you to want to do something like that?
guess just doing something instead of just like sitting around.
Yeah. Did you find that like makes you feel better? Like you get a better feeling just from being able to get up and do something?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it like a sense of returning to normalcy that feels really good about it? Or is it like a sense of strength and like what you've overcome?
I guess kind of like both.
Yeah. I do think that's a common thing that you really latch onto when you're going through something like chemo, is this sense of normalcy, but not just like normalcy in like the way we describe like quote unquote a normal life, but the normalcy in like, I want my body back. I want my mind back. I know I should be able to do this stuff and I want to be able to do it again. Was that something you ever felt?
Little bit, but like not a crazy amount, I guess.
Yeah. When you were still pretty young back then too. Yeah. So what were some of your thoughts like coming out of everything and going forward into school, going forward and chasing some of these new things that you love to do, like running and like golf? Was there like a lot of excitement about it, or was there
I think.
Was there a feeling of like questioning or confusion of like is this okay for me to do? Is this safe for me to do? Did you ever have any like worries about that?
Not really, because before treatment, I used to do flag football.
Okay.
And then that kind of took it away.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I didn't go back to it after.
Yeah.
Which, fine with, I guess.
Yeah, you're a big football guy, right? You love to watch football. I know that. Yeah. Who's your favorite team? Steelers. Oh man, I was raised, well, and we talked about NFL a little bit earlier. I was raised as a Cleveland Browns fan. Which I know is probably not super impressive to you.
to most.
Yeah. So what is it you love about football?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like playing it. I guess like a backyard game maybe, but I don't like actually playing it like competitively.
But I'm sure you can appreciate just like what these guys can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they do like crazy plays or crazy sprints or whatever it is. There's always something I think about athleticism and peak human performance that's fascinating to anybody whenever you see it. And I think what's cool about you is like you display that to us. Like for example, what did you just do this morning?
Ran 8 miles.
Yeah. And what kind of pace did you run 8 miles at?
8:20
Yeah.
pace.
8 minutes 20 seconds per mile for 8 miles straight. Yeah. And am I correct in understanding that's the first time you've ever run 8 miles?
Yeah.
Dude. Like you realize there's a lot of full-grown adults that can't do that. Actually, I would say probably most full-grown adults out there can't do that. Most full-grown adults can't even run 8 miles, let alone at that pace. Which is super impressive. And I know that like when you're constantly like looking at your own capabilities and comparing yourself to yourself or the people you may run with, it's hard to see that potential. It's hard to see how impressive that can truly be. But I guess I'd be curious to ask like what during cross country practice, during training for things like a half marathon or during these long runs like today, what drives you what makes you want to keep going forward? What makes you want to keep going faster and getting better?
I guess just like finishing.
Yeah.
I don't like, I'm more calm like out of races doing those kind of like longer runs and doing like a fast like 2 miles or whatever.
Okay. So you like the endurance piece a little better.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what we've kind of always been drawn to because I think when you get into that endurance mindset, it becomes, I mean, the sprints and the races can definitely be a mental game for sure. But I think especially in the endurance world, it becomes a big mental battle. To like, do you ever have those moments where you've got to like fight to keep yourself going at that pace and keep yourself finishing?
Not really, honestly.
He's like, I just crush every race I do.
It's like,
yeah.
especially when I have like someone to talk to or something during those runs, it's less hard.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. Well, anytime you have a sense of sense of community, or I don't want to use the word distraction, but the way I love to hear people describe it is like a sense of flow state you can get into,
Yeah.
where you just are kind of subconsciously doing something without
you're
paying
just,
attention to time passing.
Moving and
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you're not worried about it. You're just like talking to somebody.
Yeah.
That's what I like doing on like long runs.
Yeah. And that's a cool feeling. That's a feeling that I know we get from powerlifting sometimes. When you step on the platform, it's like everything else in life just kind of fades away for a moment. And you can just be there in that moment, not focused on anything else. Do you ever get that kind of feeling on some of these runs?
Yeah.
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 And what does that feeling like mean to you? Like, is that a cool feeling to have?
Just like keep going and
Yeah.
finish that
Yeah.
what you're doing.
Yeah. And then what's the feeling like when you do finish?
It's like accomplishment.
Yeah.
Like you did that. Now you're done.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can go home and brag to your brother about it. Yeah. That's awesome, man. So I know you're interested in golf as well.
Yeah.
You talked about. What do you love about golf?
I don't know.
Yeah. Did you get into it from your brother?
Not really. We both kind of started like around the same time
Mm-hmm.
during treatment, and that's wasn't like another way to like pass time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, especially, I'm sure you enjoy just having that for 18 holes, just kind of having that 4 or 5 hour period of just it's nice and calm and quiet out there on the course.
Yeah.
No, that's really nice. And so in golfing in particular, like within play, do you is there like a particular part of each hole that you enjoy like the most? Like, do you enjoy driving the most? Do you like kind of saving yourself out of the rough a little bit?
I guess driving. That's probably what I'm best at.
Best
I'd
at?
say.
Okay. That's
Right
nice.
now,
And what is your driver by chance?
Like, how far?
Yeah.
On a like good drives are like 200, 210 on a good one.
That's pretty good.
My average is probably like 180-ish.
Okay.
I'd say.
That's awesome. And who is the manufacturer of your driver? Like
PXG.
PXG.
That's
Nice.
my dad's driver. My actual driver is a Cobra.
Cobra.
the
Okay.
junior.
Nice. My 3 and 5 woods are old Cobras from the early 1990s, early to mid 1990s.
I can't hit my 3 wood for anything. I'm good with my 5 wood. I can hit it pretty good, but
Getting out of those par 5s especially, yeah.
yeah, I just don't even try hitting my 3 wood at this point.
No, that's fair. I shy away from them as much as possible. If it comes to the situation to where a 3 or 5 wood is necessary, I pull out. I have a 3 iron, but for some odd reason the what is it? The loft or the pitch of the head on a 4 iron. For some odd reason, I use it all the time, and even with that, I try to hit, close to 200 yards with that, just to try to make up for not having to use the woods. And then how was in terms of like getting out of the sand and stuff? Are you fairly successful in that?
Sand isn't terrible. If
Okay.
they're like nice bunkers where I can like pick it clean and not like real packed down ones, I can like pick it clean, get out of it, and then have a good like save shot in. My wedges are good too.
Oh, there we go.
And I'm bad from like 120 in with my irons.
Okay. In terms of like of direction, or like having like because I know for myself it was always I was either coming short, like heavily short, or I would just go over the green. Is it more of a distance issue?
It's kind
or?
of both.
Both. Okay.
Usually it's my line.
Okay.
But sometimes distance, like right now my irons are like harder to hit. I got a older pair, and they're harder to hit from like newer clubs, I guess.
Okay, that's fair. And then once you're on the green, how are you there?
Putter isn't terrible. Like 2 putting usually.
Okay. No,
So.
that's really good. And what brand putter do you have?
Spider.
Spider?
Old
Nice.
Spider.
Yeah. I started out with an old, one of those like really slim head zebras. Yeah. Yeah. Super quaint, but now I'm up to an Odyssey, and so that's really nice. So okay. And do you have a particular course that you really enjoy? Is it one of your favorites?
So pretty much the course we play, we got some kind of membership at it, and it comes with 4 courses, but like there's only 2 courses there that are good.
Mm-hmm.
The place is called like Spidell.
Okay.
And there's a Palmer and Jones course there. I like the Palmer one better.
Okay. Nice. And like these courses here in general, because I come from northwestern Ohio. We don't have a whole lot of trees as compared to here, and so a lot of our courses, like if we have trees, there's just a few kind of off to the in between the holes.
Yeah.
Do you find that to be challenging at all to keep it within the trees?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Depends on the day.
Depending on how, yeah. I know I would always, I was terrible at slicing on the drive. I'd lift my front shoulder up too high coming up on the downswing, and it would I'd send it off to the right all the time. So trees weren't, whenever it was a heavily tree occupied course, I was definitely quivering in fear.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Right now, my main problem is like water. If there's water there, I just think about it and I'll just hit it right into it.
Your brain's like, the ball should go there, and you're like, no, it definitely should not.
It won't.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm glad Austin could chat golf with you, because I'll be honest, I understood like maybe 10% of that.
Even when you say the word golf, it's just like you're like, golf.
Yeah. It's not my sport. Nothing wrong with it. It's a great sport. People are really good at it, I assume.
Yeah.
And that's about the extent of my golfing knowledge.
Yeah, there's some people really good at it.
Yeah. But no, I think that's cool, because that's a huge thing like we promote on the show, and everything else we do is just like chasing the things you love in life, chasing the things you develop passion for, and you don't necessarily have to have any rhyme or reason for it, but just finding things you enjoy, finding things you like that, fulfill you and that you enjoy chasing after and improving at, and going towards that, and we've got our specific things we chase. But what's cool about it is that anybody can chase anything that gives them purpose. For me, it's not golf, personally, but I think it's awesome for people to find those things, and I love that you're into golf and you understand it, and it's something that you can practice at. You can spend time with your dad and your brothers and have your mom there too, and you guys can kind of all chase that together. Yeah.
We just bring her to make fun of her when she swings.
That's awesome.
Yeah. See, I feel like I would have that problem too. Like, I feel like as a strength athlete, if I tried to golf, I would just be like whacking it like as hard as I possibly could.
Might have a good driver.
Every single time.
Right.
And like, yeah, I, maybe a good first hit, but if I got on like a putting, see, this is why I hate mini golf. See, when I do mini golf, I'm the guy that's like constantly hitting it way outside of where you're supposed to be, the little area thing on each hole or whatever you call it.
Little area thing.
Yeah. Like, I'll whack it and it'll go like clear across the mini golf course and hit this little 11-year-old kid or something. And yeah, so it's
good Lord,
it's just better for me to stay away from golf. But but no, man, I think that's really cool. So do you have like any like things you want to chase as far as like golfing or running is concerned, or any goals for it, or are you just loving doing the process of it now?
I guess just getting used, like getting better right now.
Yeah.
Golfing in high school, getting there, see where it goes from there, I guess.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love that, man, because I think it's so easy for people to lose sight of like, when you truly develop a passion for something or find purpose in something, it's got to come from a place of you just love doing it. Now it's good to have like goals and accomplishments you want to reach and outcomes you want to chase. Like it's good to have all of that, but at the end of the day, like the best part of it, and when you get the very best at something, I think, is when you just fall in love with the process of doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that kind of how that's how golfing and running feels for you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And I know you do a little bit of lifting too, right?
Yeah.
With your mom. Yeah. Did she get you into that, or was it something you were interested in outside of that?
She got me into it.
Yeah, yeah. She's pretty crazy strong, so it makes sense. It makes sense. Do you enjoy getting to like go in and train with her and train, do some strength training?
Some.
Yeah, yeah.
There we go.
Are you definitely more of like an endurance guy, you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Endurance training can be wild, and it's not something I'm particularly good at. It's something I've chased for a long time, purely for me because of that mental piece of it. But it's always something I've never been just like, I've never had like a lot of, it's never something that's felt like comfortable or easy to me, if that makes sense, you know, like strength training, like getting under a bar or doing a deadlift, like that's always felt like natural to me and felt easy to me.
Yeah.
But running is something I've really had to work at, and I think we all have those things. We've got things that are more natural to us and some things we really need to work at. But what I think is cool about strength training and endurance racing, I kind of said this earlier, is just that mental piece of it. You know, you've got to, it's kind of like you competing against yourself, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I know cross country is probably a little bit different because you got guys like right beside of you or ahead of you or behind you, you're trying to beat them. But at the end of the day, I think it comes down to like kind of a mental battle within yourself of, can I keep going? Can I go faster? Can I finish this thing? You know? And I always thought it was interesting to me that like I was drawn so heavily to those sports. I think a lot of people I know in the strength world, definitely. I think a lot of people in the endurance world too. You know, sometimes I think we use our experience with some of the challenges we've faced in life to kind of fuel us, and that we know that like, hey, I was able to get through this crazy hard thing. And now not only do I have an appreciation of like not having to go through that thing and being able to do this other cool stuff, but I think you have a new appreciation of like how strong your body is, you know, and I think that allows you to kind of open your mind to some other potential, some other things that may be out there for you. And we were very honored to very recently have you join our team and run in the Columbus Marathon this year. Mm-hmm. So what made you start thinking about wanting to do that?
It's just running.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know, like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's all good, man. It's all good. We're really excited to have you because this is a really fun race.
Yes.
And it's got tens of thousands of people there. You know, there's all kinds of stuff to see and do, and it's a pretty easy course as far as courses go, but it's a really exciting course. There's lots of people cheering you on. There's like lots of things to see along the course. There's lots of different like activities going on during the race and all kinds of things. So I think it'll be because this will be your first half marathon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's it feel like to think about running 13.1 miles?
Feels like it's going to be long.
Yeah.
I mean, like, thinking about it today, like, I ran 8 miles. It wasn't bad, but I still have 5 point whatever to do after that, after doing that first 8.
Yeah. And that's something that I think everybody faces on this journey. You know, when you start going down this kind of endurance path, and what's wild about it is after you do this half marathon, it'll totally change your perspective on distance, because every time you like reach one of those new stepping stones in life, you realize like, oh, that was really hard, but I overcame that. I did that, and I know I can do it again.
Yeah.
And then it opens your mind up to, well, like, what's next? Because someday you could go out and run a full marathon, and then you'll be thinking like, oh, 13 miles, I'm halfway done. You know? And it's crazy to even think about that in the moment until you're there chasing it. And that's something we've always talked a lot about, is being able to find these ways and these things you can do that kind of open your mind up to your own potential for things. And that's why we're so excited to have people like you on the team, because you show people like what can be possible.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it can be hard sometimes. And there was a long time I felt this way, where like, and I guess I'd be interested to hear if you've ever felt this way. Do you ever feel like I don't want to be known as the kid who had cancer?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's totally normal.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's actually good that you feel that way, because what that allows you to do is it allows you to be known as the guy who went out and did all of these awesome things, you know. And if there's ever a time that you want to bring that piece back into it of like, hey, I went through this a long time ago. I went through this as a kid. I battled cancer, but look what I'm doing now. And I think that's a really cool way to spin it, because I think by you going out and chasing a lot of these, like chasing cross country, chasing golf, chasing running this half marathon with us, and whatever you're going to end up chasing later in life, you know, I think by you doing all of those things, it's allowing you to not only change kind of how you see yourself, but how other people see you as well. It's like, you're not just the kid who battled cancer. Like, as amazing and as impressive and impossible of a thing that is, like, that's not all you are. You have all of these other passions in life. You have all of these other things you're chasing in life. And in a way, like, that will start to define who you are. And I guess I would ask, like, when you get kind of those feelings at some of these events, like maybe the Relay for Lives or whatever it is you may do, where it's like, man, I just don't really want to be seen that way. Where do you think, and this is a hard question to answer, and it's one that I struggle with answering for a long time, but it's like, where do you think some of those feelings come from?
Oh, no.
Yeah. It is tough, because it was a hard period of life, and I'm sure you remember a lot of it still. Even though you were young, there's got to be glimpses you have of it. Yeah. And it's sometimes hard to go back and think on those. And I think in a way it feels like something you want to not escape, but something you want to move past.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever feel that way, you think? Yeah. And just move on to like all the things you can do in spite of that.
Life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the core foundation of everything we try to talk about here, is just like, yes, you were a kid and you had cancer, but that's not all you have to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can use some of the lessons and the experience you got from that, but you can take the strength you have and move forward to chase anything you want in life. Like, it doesn't ever have to hold you back. It doesn't ever have to define you. But it can be something that you use to maybe reflect on or think back to, and just use it as like a spectrum of like, you know, there was a period of time where I was in this place, and now I'm out here and I get to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's just such a cool way to be able to look at life in general. Mm-hmm. And what we love about your story and who you are and having you on the team is that you're just a beast, dude. Like, you were doing some awesome, incredible things.
Especially for this morning. That's incredible.
Yeah.
That is incredible.
Yeah. And I'm sure it's, you know, hard to always hear people telling you that kind of stuff too. Like, I guess I would just ask, like, if there were a way that, like, you wanted people to see you, and again, this is not an easy question either,
Mm-hmm.
but like, what do you think it would be?
Like, athlete?
Yeah.
There we go.
And I think it's cool to use those terms to define ourselves. like this is who am I? This is who I am.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an athlete. And I think that gives people, that allows you to have a lot of value and a lot of purpose to what you're doing. I remember, because there was a lot of times earlier in my life where I struggled a lot with alcoholism and a lot of negative, dark paths that I was going down. And what really, even for a while, I was like, I had started getting in the gym and training and running, and that helped me move away from all of that. But there was a time period where things really started turning around for me and pivoting for me. And it was actually when I started to see myself as and call myself an athlete, because it changed my approach to everything. It changed my approach to how much sleep I was getting, what kind of food I was eating, what kind of things I was doing in my life. Like, does this serve my performance in the gym or my performance, during the race? And when you allow yourself to define yourself in that way, I think it gives you a lot more purpose and meaning to what you're doing. I think it's really cool that you're like confident enough in what you're doing at your age to be able to define yourself as an athlete. And I think that's going to allow you to do a lot of really cool things going forward in life. So any big plans for this school year, next summer? Cool things you want to do?
Not really.
Yeah.
Just good grades, I guess.
Yeah.
Get better at golf.
I like it. I like it. I mean, I don't know anything about the game of golf, but I can at least say I definitely respect it. I respect anything that anybody chases, with some level of passion and purpose and, love for what they do. Like, I've got to respect that, because like we talked about earlier, everybody's got different things they're good at, different things they chase, and, to be able to allow yourself to have enough value and confidence in yourself to be able to go out and chase that. Like, I think that's just huge, man. So there was one thing I definitely wanted to make sure we touched on, and I just wanted to kind of get your thoughts and your opinions and see what you thought about the process. But obviously your mom's been a huge supporter in your life, a lot of things you do. What does that mean for you to have, well, your mom and your dad and your brother, like, what does it mean for you to have their support in the stuff you're doing?
It helped.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh no.
I know. Yeah.
You're good.
Were there days like it was hard and that you felt they were able to get you through a lot of stuff? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for sure. And I was actually talking about this on the last podcast, because it was definitely one of the coolest things I've experienced this year. It was a cool thing just one of the coolest things I've seen in my life is, like, we were at Relay for Life this year, and you went out and did some running with us. It was awesome to have you guys down. But I know, like, when we were going to do like the Survivor walk and stuff like that, like, I know you weren't like crazy about wanting to do that. And I get it, because what that guest told me, she's like, there's a time you didn't want to do that either. And I remember that time. Like, there was a time I didn't want to do that either. And I'd be lying if I said even to this day I feel a little weird about it, because it feels weird to get praised for something that, like, you just survived.
Yeah.
Yeah. We didn't volunteer.
Yeah. Like, we didn't volunteer for it. We weren't, like, we didn't save ourselves. We didn't decide the drugs and the chemos and all that stuff, so it's like you feel a little weird getting, like, praise for doing something you feel like was not a fun experience that you just survived. Is that kind of some of what you feel, you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and man, I get it totally, because I still feel that same way. And there was a turning point for me where I realized, I was like, me going up and doing this isn't about me at all. Like, yeah, people are cheering for me and they're clapping and stuff, but it's not about me. Like, it's not to make me feel good. And I'm going to treat it as if I'm doing it for them. And there was a cool moment where I know you were standing by me there, and, like, I just looked at you, because I knew that, like, that helped me so much. I looked at you and I told you, I was like, hey, like, just think about doing this for your mom, because she did so much to help you. And was that something you were able to feel like, hey, I can do this as a way to say thank you to her?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know that it means when you're going through that stuff, not just stuff like battling cancer, but even just now, like going out and doing your races and doing your golfing and everything, like it's got to mean a lot to have her there with you and have your family there with you to support you and push you through that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a lot of ways now you can pass that on to other people. Have you ever had moments like that where you feel like I was able to make that person feel better because of what I did?
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty cool feeling. Yeah. And I think you'll be able to, I think in October you're going to experience that on a level you've probably never experienced that before. And it's not something everybody has to chase in life, but I do think, like we've talked about on the podcast here, like I think one of the coolest things you can ever do in life is help somebody in a way that you really needed help at one point, because you understand like kind of what they're going through, what they're facing, and you know what they're capable of. Do you ever feel like you see that in people, like you see things they could go out and do and go out and chase and go out and be that maybe they don't see in themselves?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like an example, but yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure you probably see it in your teammates all the time. Like, you know, they could run a little bit faster time. Yeah. You know, they could run a little bit farther distance. And I think going through tough times really opens your mind up to that, because you know what you were able to do and what you've done in life since then. And I'm just really excited for you to be able to participate in this and crush this race coming up in October, man.
Yep.
I think you're going to run a sub 2 hour half marathon.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have any goals for the race specifically, like time goals, or
I guess
you just
sub
want to
2. Yeah.
sub 2, man?
Here we go.
I love it. Sub 2. That's gonna be one of our mantras, because I will not be running a sub 2 hour. I won't be running a sub 3 hour, but I know you can go out and crush that. And Austin and I are going to be chasing our own race, and Andrew's going to go out and crush. He's going to run a sub 3 full marathon, so he'll be out there clipping along with you. And we got everybody chasing all these different distances. That's why I think it's cool about running is, and it's cool in a way that like lift is a little bit different from lifting, because like everybody knows what it's like to struggle under the heaviest weight they've been under, but there's still a big difference between 200 pounds and 800 pounds.
Yeah.
But like running, it's like everybody is like running their own race with their own goals, and everybody's pushing themselves to, or has the potential to push themselves to the same point mentally, and they all may be performing at different levels. But I think that's what's kind of cool about running, is people really kind of share in that experience together a lot more, because they're all doing it at the exact same time, you know. And I always thought that was something I loved about it. But yeah, man, it's been really cool to get to know you and have you part of the team. It was awesome to have you out in Pittsburgh. You had a good time during that race, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you kind of left your mom in the dust, right? Yeah. Was it cool to get to go back and do something like that in Pittsburgh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm sure. And did you get to do the part that runs by the Steelers Stadium?
Mm-mm.
Or did you get to see the Steelers Stadium from there?
I didn't.
Okay. Have you?
That's what I thought.
Yeah, I think you can see it across the river from the finish line there. Was it Acrisure Stadium is what it's called now? Because it used to be Heinz, right?
Should still be.
That's like the number one thing I hear from people at Pittsburgh. They're like, it's not Acrisure Stadium, it's Heinz Stadium or Heinz Field. Like, it's still Heinz.
Yeah.
And I don't even know what Acrisure, I'm sure there's some kind of company.
Some kind of like insurance, I think.
Oh, that's not nearly as cool.
Where's the ketchup?
Like, Heinz is so American. Like, what's
Yeah.
more American than like ketchup and mustard on a hot dog or a hamburger?
Yeah.
Yeah. And speaking of, I know you are all about fueling for all your performance. What's some of your favorite food?
Taco, spaghetti.
Yeah. Is there anything you don't like to eat, or do you pretty much just crush anything?
Anything like really greasy.
Oh, okay.
Like I know tacos could be,
Yeah.
but like
But if you make them right.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I don't like really greasy food like
Yeah.
days
That's
before.
probably good
That's
to
good.
that's
Yeah,
good to
probably-
have an
probably a good
aversion
thing.
to that, because
So,
there's a lot of people that like love that more than regular
It's
food.
good, but like before a race or something.
Oh yeah,
no.
it wouldn't be
No
wouldn't be
way.
good fuel for sure. Well, we're gonna go out. Austin's actually getting us set up for a nice. It's like an Irish restaurant, but it's like a little nicer restaurant for the night before the marathon, so that you can get like
Nice.
good potatoes and good like get some like some lamb
Yes, sir.
chops and stuff that's real lean, and hopefully you'll be able to fuel up pretty good for that.
Yeah.
shepherd's
Yeah.
pie and some black pudding.
Oh yeah, man,
It's going to be a good
Absolutely.
time. Superfoods.
Absolutely.
All the vitamins.
Irish superfoods. That's not something you hear a lot together. Well, cool, man. Hey, I really appreciate you coming on to chat with
Yes,
us
thank you.
and taking the time to do this and taking the time to share a little bit of your story and your goals and what you're chasing in life right now. And I guess the last thing I would ask you is, for anybody that's like, and whether they battled cancer as a kid or not, but just for anybody that's like going out into life, they're not sure if they want to get involved in something or not. They're not sure if they want to be a part of this sport or this group or take up these lessons. What kind of advice would you give to them?
Try it. You can always just like quit it later if you don't
I love that,
want
man.
to.
Love that. Because you got nothing to lose by
Yeah.
just going after it. That's kind of one of our mantras, is just like, go in that direction. You know, you don't have to be perfect at
Yeah.
it right away.
Like
You don't have to know everything about it right away, but
if you want to like try golf or something, find some cheap clubs somewhere.
mhm.
Try it out. Don't like it, whatever.
Yep. An imperfect plan now is better than a perfect plan executed later. It's like the number one rule of business,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. That's awesome, man. Well, thanks for coming on, Leo.
Thank you.
We're gonna take a quick break and let your mom hop on and chat a little bit about some of her experiences, you know, going forward in life and some of the things she's chasing right now, because I know she's doing some really cool stuff in her life. And man, it's just an honor to have you here. Honor to have you part of the team. And maybe someday, since you're running this race with us, maybe someday
There we
you
go.
guys will get me on a golf course
Yep.
out there.
Oh, yeah. Yep. We'll all go up there and have a fantastic time.
As long as there can be some level of like screaming involved and like maybe crack an ammonia bottle at some point.
There will
you know.
be a barbell in your golf bag.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. Yeah, get like the 45 iron. Yeah. All right, Leo. Thanks for coming on,
Thank
man.
you.
We're gonna switch it up here, and we'll be back in just a moment with Natalie. And that's like one thing we've always been about, is just like loving those parts of you that have passion in like whatever area it is. And like how you said on the last podcast you did, like, you can do all the things. That was like a phrase you repeated constantly, and I loved it, because it's true. Like, you can chase everything you have interest or passion for in life. You know, you can focus it on one singular thing that you love, or you can spread it out. And we're really so much about trying to help people ignite that passion in themselves. And recently it's kind of grown into just helping people find value in themselves, because that's so lacking right now.
That's
I agree.
fairly devoid.
It's so lacking, and it's such a big problem, but you see it everywhere all the time. And I can always appreciate and respect when someone has humility and is working to be humble. Like, I can respect that so much. But I don't think that we've taken it too far. I think we've somehow slipped into this point in society where people have started to lose all self-confidence and all value, to the point that they don't believe they can go out and chase those purposes because they're not worthy enough of
People feel unworthy.
it. Yeah.
And I understand it because I was there and I felt that. And
I'm sorry. Can you take the mic a little closer?
Yeah. Is that good?
Perfect.
Yeah, I think people people do feel unworthy. They just feel they're not worthy to experience this thing. They're not worthy to do this thing, or, and then self-doubt and self-criticism just kind of encompasses everything about them. And I was totally there, and that can be, I guess, driven by outside circumstances, obviously, and you can get into a bad place. But then when you start like piecing that back together again in yourself and realizing like I am worth everything that I'm doing and I want to achieve, then, I don't think that is pride. And I think it's something that people need to realize, like you can be humble, but you can also know your worth.
Yeah.
Well, and not let people tear it down in you.
Oh, and, 100%.
Because we live in a time, I think, where there are people out there that want to tear people down, and it makes them feel better about themselves somehow. And it's like an epidemic of that right now. Yes. And that just makes people feel less worthy. And, when you go out and you do things, you can start to like mute that noise. And when you're able to, then what you hear in your own mind becomes more positive. And that's been a big transformative thing for me, because I was full of a lot of self-doubt for a long time, and piecing it back together.
Yeah. I actually just today heard Robert F. Kennedy Jr. on a podcast, who people have different opinions about him. I really respect him as a human, and especially what he's trying to drive forward for the country now, as far as like, how can we make America healthier? I love that question and that discussion of how can we do that. But regardless, I just happened to see him on an interview on social media, and he said people are always looking to define themselves right now from so many things outside themselves, when they can only find that from within. And that line just really struck me. And I think it's absolutely true. Like, you'll only ever find true value for yourself, true confidence, true worth, whatever words you want to associate it with, you'll only find that from within yourself. Like, you can get Band-Aids of like trying to find that externally, but that becomes a never-ending chase. And then you're putting your entire being, your entire self-worth, everything you are, in someone else's hands.
Yes.
Which can be a very dangerous game to play. But I think you're right. I think I've always looked at it as a spectrum of, if you go from one extreme that's not good, of having no value for yourself and having no worth for yourself and having no belief in yourself, all the way to the other end of the extreme of being wholly arrogant and cocky and having, just believing everybody else is worthless in comparison. You can find that middle ground of, I have worth for myself, I have value for myself, I'm confident, I'm strong, but I'm also humble in the sense, and maybe this is something we can dive into, maybe it's something we got to go into more, is like, what is true humility? True humility, I don't think, is having a lack of belief in yourself, or having like even a realistic belief in yourself. I think humility is the ability to recognize the areas that you can grow better in, and how you can work together with other people to improve those areas together. But
I believe that.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
And
because community is so huge.
Yes, and taking the parts of you that you feel worth in, and using it to help other people.
Exactly.
I mean, that, and lifting them up. And there's so many people that are so elite and excellent at the things that they do, and the things that they're gifted at and things like that, but they will take the time to help the person who is nowhere near
brand new first day in the gym.
those people, like, that's humility.
Yeah.
And those people are such humble people, but I think it shows their worth, like, in action when they do things like that. And I think, you know, that's that internal part of you that's where that worth is found, because you know, it doesn't matter what you can do or what you're great at or whatever if you're not using it in some way to help somebody else. And
I love that perspective of, like, what are you using it for? Because along the lines of thinking that is a spectrum of where these beliefs can exist. I think it's a spectrum, but it's a circle. Because when you think about those two extreme ends, they can be the same person.
yes,
Like people who are wholly arrogant and cocky or whatever, like that actually comes from a place of insecurity. I think 100% of the time.
Absolutely.
Like you can't get to that point if you're secure and comfortable and stable in who
Right.
you are, truly at your core. But I think that's a really big, important piece of the puzzle is, like, what is your worth for? Like, what are you using it for? Your strengths, your talents, whatever you've built in your life, what is that for? And I think you can use the answer to that as, like you say, a great definition of somebody's humility. Because Tim, like, we got to train with Tim a little bit today. Well, we got to watch Tim train today.
Yeah.
Nobody trains with Tim. Let me correct that. But we got to train with Tim a little bit today. And Tim is one of those guys, like you would say, he's competing at this elite level, getting to compete in one of the most prestigious powerlifting meets that there is. But he's the same guy that would, if somebody walked in on their very first day in the gym, he would walk right up to them and help them out with whatever they need. Or they could ask him a question about bench and he would be able to explain to them the theory of everything that goes into a bench press.
absolutely.
You know? And I've always had just such a deep respect for people who do that, because it just shows you that they still relate to that beginner's mentality. And it's David Goggins talks about that week one, day one mentality,
Right.
where, like, he would constantly have to go back to the very beginning of Bud's training, you know, after he'd already made it through so many stages, so many times, he'd constantly have to keep going back. And it's this idea that you can always go back to being a beginner at anything. And how comfortable are you in the ability to do that? Like, I think that's where true confidence comes into places. Can you be an elite expert at one thing and then walk into a new world? For me, that would be golf. That,
Right.
that you don't understand at all. You
And
don't
start
have
at the
any
bottom.
comfort with. You don't even really like it that much. And can you go back and just be willing to strip yourself of everything you have and just learn from scratch? You know, I think that's always a cool thing I can appreciate in people.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But Natalie, thank you for coming back on. We appreciate it.
Thanks
if you
for
guys,
having me.
Yeah, if you guys don't know who Natalie is, you absolutely should know who Natalie is. And you can learn more about her and her whole story and her journey on a previous episode of the podcast. We got to lay out and walk through, you know, who she is, what she's been chasing in life, and how she got to where she is today. But she battled childhood cancer with her son Leo, who was just on earlier in this episode, and she went on from that, and was an art teacher and still is an art teacher. She's an amazing artist. We're actually going to be putting a piece of her artwork in the studio. We're very excited about. We just kind of chatted about that today, and she's also a national record holding powerlifter, and she is an amazing mother and a wife and just a strong, confident, incredible, impossible person. And she also is just a killer meal prep expert. You talk about being elite at something, like, and we were actually talking about this earlier today. There may or may not be a page coming soon dedicated to that, but man, it's like you just get on your stories or your Facebook stories and see what you're eating, and it's like everything looks like a gourmet chef prepared meal.
So good.
Thank you.
Like even like ahi tuna on a Wednesday for her and her family. Like it's so cool. What made that something that was so important and valuable to you?
So and you guys know kind of how I started into all of this, and I was really overweight when I got back into the gym after Leo's treatment, and I would say dialing in my meals was the thing that like helped my body change the most, and that wasn't the first thing that I did. So I just started like working out at first, and then once things progressed and it was like, okay, I'm getting into powerlifting, and needed to really like have the weight come off the way that it did and things like that, I started changing the way that I ate, and I think some of that was not good. And over the last, I would say, year and a half, I really wanted to eat well and feel good and develop a better relationship with food. So I lost 85 pounds, and I don't know if it was the best way to do it, but now kind of developing this better relationship with food, I'm like, I want to cook all the food. I want to have it there. And I've been prepping food for the last 5 years because I've got 2 kids who are running around all the time, and you know, it was super easy to go through a drive-through after a baseball game and multiple times a day because it was just what was available. And now, you know, you'll see me on a golf cart with a container eating food out of it. So that's kind of where it grew out of necessity. And then once I started doing it for a while, I was like, I don't need to eat the same exact things all the time. I can make it different and make it enjoyable. And so I kind of figured out a way to do that. And I cook twice a week, prep everything in mass on Sundays, and then I cook again on Wednesdays, and it gets me through and keeps everybody fed. And there's a lot of food consumed in my house right now.
Because you got 2 teenage sons, plus you and your husband.
Yeah, and the 16-year-old can put it away.
Oh, so. Yeah, I'm sure. I remember those days. So I just love that, and I think it's got to be like an incredibly empowering thing.
Yes.
To be able to take something that you kind of had some negative experiences in life before, and now you can like have this, not even just like, I don't even like the word control. Like, yes, there is control to it, but like, it's got to be so empowering to say like, you know, I was here with this, and now this is something I get to do to improve this for myself and my family.
And that's key, what you just said. Like, it's not that I have to do it. I get to do this. I have the time to do it. I make the time to do it. It's a priority, but I get to do it. So a lot of people don't, you know, they say, I don't have time, and I get it. Everybody's time is different. But I think back to the days where, you know, we were at the hospital all the time, or you know, treatment was like consuming life with everything with Leo, and I now am blessed with that time, and so I might as well use it for something that's going to fuel his body, fuel our bodies, like something that I just feel like the good that you put in is going to do something. So, and there's nothing that brings me more joy than watching him eat. That probably sounds really weird to people, but I just love watching him eat. Like today when he's eating, it just makes me so happy because we had so many times where he couldn't eat and he didn't want to eat and he was so thin and frail. And now watching him grow, it just makes me so happy. I love that, and I'll never take it for granted. So I guess just knowing that, like, yeah, it's a chore, you know, but at the same time, it's not a chore because I enjoy it, because the end result is happy and healthy people, and that makes me so happy.
Well, your perspective there has so many layers of importance, and I want to like unpack that a little bit for people. First of all, you said like you made the distinction of I get to do this versus I have to do this. And guys, like, you can use this mindset for anything in life. Like, we all know we have this like conscious voice inside of us kind of guiding toward what's, I don't even like the words good and bad, but like the things we should be doing, the things we want to be doing that we know are good for us versus the things that, could be instant gratification that may lead us off course. And I'm sure it's not always easy to go out and buy all that food and make the plans. Like, it's a lot of work. It's not just like an easy thing you just throw together with no effort. Like, it's a lot of work. But having the mindset of, I get to do this rather than I have to do this, immediately that puts you in a state of like gratitude for it. And when you can develop a state of gratitude for anything in your life, that's about the highest level of empowerment you could possibly achieve for anything you're going through. And not only that, but you said you make time for it. And actually, you and I were talking about this a little bit before we even did the podcast. I was like, people tell me and Austin all the time, they're like, I don't know how you guys do what you do. And it's just like, we do it. Like, right. It's just like, this is our biggest passion in life. And we do it. We make it happen, and I even said that to you. I was like, people say this to us, but I don't know how you make the time for this. And it's the same thing. It's like, I make the time for this. Like, we all, and this is something I'm so passionate about. We all have 24 hours in a day. Mm-hmm. We don't know how many days we're going to have, but we all have 24 hours in a day. We all get to decide how we use those hours. Right. There's no advantage. There's no disadvantage. It is a 100% even level playing field. And the only thing you have to decide, and you get to decide, is where am I going to prioritize that time? And I think it's so cool because when you approach your time from that perspective, it again gives you a level of ownership and responsibility and empowerment over it, because you realize I can do anything I want with this time. Right. What's most important to me? And obviously we know your family is immensely important to you, and making sure they're nourished and well fed and have healthy relationships with food. Mm-hmm. I know that that's so important for you. So you set that as a priority and you make it happen, and you don't let other things interrupt that could.
Yes. And just like you said, you prioritize what's important, and, make a list. And, health is important to me, and it's important for my kids, and it's especially important for Leo after like what he's gone through. And I feel like, we talked about this before. I felt like my purpose when he was in treatment that time, and every mother, once they would die for their children, like hands down. I just, and you would do whatever you can for your kids. And when he was in treatment, it was like, okay, I'm going to give every med exactly how I'm supposed to do it. I'm going to make sure everything gets in when it's supposed to get in and all of that. And then when it was done, it's like, okay, well, now I'm going to give him the best shot to continue to have a long and healthy life, like as long as I'm here. So this is one way I can do it. And I believe like what you put in your body is important. And it's fun, actually, like watching him kind of grow from where he was and to where he is now. And just like the fact that he ran 8 miles today just makes me want to cry thinking about it, because I know that he's going to go run this half marathon, and I'll be a weeping puddle at the end. I'll be waiting at the finish line. And but there's nothing that brings me more joy than taking care of them that way. And just like prioritizing time, that's why I train when people are sleeping, because it's a priority and I want to do it and I don't want to miss it. Yeah. So
what time do you wake up to train?
3
a.m. Natalie gets up at 3 a.m. to go train. That's how she trains every single day, and you don't miss days. Like, as far as I'm aware, you do not miss days. Like, that's when you get up.
I've not missed one.
Yeah, and she's built that as a habit, as a routine, and I'm sure at this point it's probably not even something you like think twice about. Like,
no, it's not based on feeling.
Yeah,
like you just go. I wake up before my alarm every single day. Yeah. And I get up, I do the same thing every morning, and I'm out the door, and I'm in the gym by 4.
Yeah.
And then off to work. So.
Yeah. And so it's not even like I stress on this because I think it's such an important thing that we can all implement, is when you build these dedicated practices in your life, and you think about prioritizing your time and how you want to use your time and manage your time, like the things that are most important to you are things you no longer have like a conscious battle over.
Right.
Like you just get with a disciplined practice, you get to a point that it just is
This
what
is what
you
I do.
This is who
Yep.
it's not different than that. I think it's like a part of who you are, you know? And so you're not hearing the alarm clock go off and thinking like, oh, can I get up? Or maybe I can get a little extra sleep, or maybe I can, you know, it's not even like conscious thought anymore.
And I was that person. I mean, if you go back 8 years, you know, I was that person where I'd hit snooze 15 times. and now looking back, I would just be like, what are you doing right now? Because that's not me. I'm not that person anymore.
Because if you do that for an hour every morning, you're hitting snooze for an hour, that's 7 hours a week you lose, and you know what you can do in 7 hours.
Right.
Like
so much.
Yeah.
So much can be done.
It's crazy. Yeah. So how did you kind of find that turning point? How did you go from I'm this person who hits snooze to I'm this person who wakes up before my alarm?
That shift happened when, you know, it went from, I'm the kind of person that, I don't know if there's like two groups of people where some people could sleep forever and have to have an alarm go off to get them up. And if I wake up, I'm going to wake up at that time, like every single day. I have like that internal alarm clock. So throughout Leah's treatment, he developed hypoglycemia, and he had a chemo pill that had to be taken on an empty stomach. And so then we were fighting two battles, like keeping food in him and having an empty stomach for this window of time. And so he would go to sleep. He'd have to do like a cornstarch slurry and like to keep his blood sugar regulated, and we're pairing carbs and fats and doing all the things that like endocrines having us do. But then he had to take this mercaptopurine chemo in the morning, but he couldn't eat before and after it for hours. And upon waking was when his blood sugar would be like bottomed out. So I was like, okay, well, I'll get up at 3 a.m. and I'll give him chemo every day in the middle of the night, and then he'll go back to sleep and wake up in the morning around, you know, he's an early riser then, not anymore, but 6 a.m. or so, and then he could eat immediately. And so that was the solution to the problem then, and that went on for years. And so when treatment was finished, I just kept waking up 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, might as well do something positive with this. Yeah. So now I'll go to the gym. Yeah,
I love it. I love that story. I think it's so cool to just take, rather than even like think about celebrating like, oh my gosh, I don't have to do this anymore. You're like, I'm just going to keep doing this, but I'm going to use it for something positive.
And I love that. That's why I don't miss.
Yeah.
Like you woke up, like you're blessed to wake up, like go do something with it.
Because you're still waking up for Leo and for your family, you know, and for yourself.
Yeah. And I've finally like come to that realization that it's okay to do stuff for you.
Yeah.
And for a long time, I didn't allow myself to do anything for me, because we kind of talked about that before, where when your children are hurting, like you hurt to the point where you don't want to experience anything good for yourself, because it felt selfish to do that. And now it's like, well, there's joy and happiness to be had. So go do the things that are for you too. Yeah. And I've found that, especially within the last year, I've found that again. And it makes me so happy to be able to do something that brought me out of a really dark place, but I found joy in it again. And I really felt that way, especially like at the meet in August. Like it was awesome.
Yeah. That was a whole different Natalie, and I loved it. And we were talking a little bit out off camera, but what was so cool to me about it is I had met you for the first time in the December meet last year, 2023, and you were still like crazy strong, like awesome person. Like we loved getting to meet you and see you perform and everything. Stocks. Well, yeah, I know, because like you had the childhood cancer deadlift stocks, but but Clayton actually introduced us like right at the very beginning of that meet, and you were telling me about Leo and your son that battled cancer, and I remember I like asked, I was like, oh, did you bring him down with you, like you and the family, or him and the family and everything? And for some reason this like stuck in my brain, because I remember your old coach was there at the time, and you were like, no, I don't want him to see me like this. And I remember thinking like, okay, like, and I like get it. I was like, okay, she must like go to a place of like, this is where she deals with that emotion, and she doesn't want him to like have to experience. I was like, I get it. I respect it. But I remember always thinking like in the back of my brain, I was like, okay, that's interesting though, because, you know, it's like, he could also have a chance to see like how crazy strong you are, you know? But I was like, you know, I respect people and what they need and what they want. So I didn't think too much about it. But then kind of learning more about the process you were going through at that time, and then the process you've been on the last 6 months, I was like, man, I get it now. And we were just talking a little bit off camera about how like, you know, before you had a lot of like unbridled, unpassioned kind of like, or unbridled passion and a little bit of like rage that you were funneling.
Anger. I'll just say it, like lots of anger.
Yeah.
and I'm finding, and I found that like you can be calm and channel what you need to channel when you need to. And you control it so much more. You don't need all that, you know, like, I don't want to say like amped up or whatever. Like everybody goes wherever they need to go to like get things done, especially like when you're moving weight that you haven't moved before. But I now feel like I don't need any external, I don't need anything. I could be completely silent. I don't need that. It's great. Like what, you know, but I don't need it. I can do this from what I pull from within me. It has nothing to do with anybody else. And I've found so much power in that. And it makes me happy because, I just felt like I fell in love with the thing that literally saved me from where I was, and then I started hating it. I really did. Like I would say in December, like I was getting to the point where I was like, I don't know if I even want to do this anymore. Like, and I was like not hating that meat. That meat was fine. Like that meat was great. It just, the process there was a lot going on that was making me not enjoy it, but I kept going and through a lot. But now I'm training different. I have a lot of awesome people around me, and I'm doing it in a way that has made me like love it again. And that meet in August was so fun. I've never had more fun at a powerlifting meet, and being around you guys and being able to like talk to people and still perform like better than I ever have in any meet that I've ever done. At a body weight lower than I had ever been, which was pretty cool. But now also being comfortable to feel like I can, I don't know, like allow myself to grow, which I never felt okay to do before. And now I'm like, this is part of it. And I feel so good about that. I've never felt healthier in my life, just mentally and physically, which is a great place to be. And I'm excited to see where it goes, because it's only been, about 7 months, and the growth in all those areas have been awesome.
Unbelievable. Yeah, we were, talking about like that mind, body, spirit, heart kind of connection that exists in a lot of these moments. We were talking about that off camera here, and just how powerful that can be. And it's really interesting to hear you say, like, lifting and getting in the gym was the thing that saved you from a lot of the challenges you were battling with before, the things you were reeling from, through the battle of childhood cancer. And as we talked about on the last episode, it's not that you were doing anything wrong or that you were like lost or broken or anything. It was just that you wanted to give yourself a lot of grace for what you were going through, and that you were doing the best you could with what you had. And I think that's such an important thing to face. But it was, you wanted to make a change and move in a different direction, and lifting in the gym, and a lot of this process was a big part of that. But somewhere along the line, you grew into a place where you didn't love the process you were going through, and it sounds like it was kind of tearing you down in different ways, like totally different ways. And so I think that should be a good trigger for people. Like, if you had something you loved and you were passionate about, and you start to feel like you not only are you kind of like just not interested in it anymore, you're falling out of love with it, but like you're starting to dislike it or develop hate for it or develop these really negative feelings for it, that should be a big red flag that, hey, something needs to change here. And I guess I would offer, like, what kind of advice would you give to people? Like, maybe if you're stuck in a situation where you had this big love that you were burning passion and desire for, and now you're in a place where you've got a lot of negative emotions surrounded by it. What's like one of the number one things people can start on that process?
And I think it's hard identifying, well, what's making me feel this way. And I think for me, with space and hindsight, like, there was a lot of negative things being said, and words eventually like become thoughts. And so if you're surrounded by words that are becoming intrusive thoughts in your head that are negative, and you start tearing yourself down, which is what was happening with me, you'll end up in a place like you will believe it eventually. And so, if somebody's telling you like, yeah, you're fat, like, you're going to believe it eventually. You're going to develop this bad relationship with food. When in reality, looking back, no, I wasn't. Like, I was in the best shape of my life, and now I'm in even better shape than I was then. And mentally, I'm in a better space than I was then. Or if somebody's telling you, yeah, you're worthless, or you're not good at anything, or whatever it is, if somebody's constantly telling you those things, you will believe those things. And so I would say identify the root cause of why you're feeling a certain way about something, and then eliminate that from the equation and see where you're at. Give it a little bit more time and see where you are, because being around a group of people that all come in and get the work done that they're doing in regards to whatever they're training for, and having a super supportive coach. I'm working with Curtis Miller, and it's been awesome. It's been a huge change, and I've learned something like every single session, which is like invaluable to me. And I feel like I've become a much more polished lifter, and I got tons of ways to go. But I've really enjoyed that. I find joy in that, and so I love it. I just love it again. And I think the people that I train with too would tell you that also, because small group of us, early in the morning, but awesome people to be around. Everybody holds everybody accountable. It's pretty cool. And I'm sure that they've seen a change in me as well. And I think when your mindset shifts back to, man, I love this, like, people see it. And I truly do. I love it. And I don't think I ever like ceased to love powerlifting. I just was having trouble loving myself, honestly. Like, feeling like I was not worthy.
Yeah. So maybe that's a good distinction to make, is like, maybe it's not even that you've fallen out of love with the thing. Maybe it's that you've fallen out of love in some way with yourself.
Yeah.
And that's that's something that if that ever arises, like we have to come to a place where we can change whatever's going on that's causing that.
Yep.
Because we talked about earlier, like self-worth and self-value is one of the most lacking things right now in this world and in this society. And I think it's very hard to move forward with passion and purpose and in a super positive direction if you don't believe you're worthy of it. Mm-hmm. You know, if you don't believe you're valuable enough to chase it. And
our words matter. Like the things that we speak to other people impact them so much.
Yeah.
And, you know, you could impact somebody in a positive way with one sentence, and you could literally tear them down to the point where, you know, they're spitting food out in a garbage can because they're worried about getting fat. And that's terrible. I'm gonna say it out loud, like to be in a spot like that. But that's the impact of words. Mm-hmm. And, you know, there could be even worse ramifications. And I just think people need to realize that. And it's hard to learn to callous your mind against like negativity and things that are spoken to you. But I'm learning that too. Mm-hmm. And I think now learning what you're worth is like a shield against a lot of things. And so it's been a process, but I'm really happy to be where I'm at right now.
Yeah. So. Well, it's true. Like words become thoughts, thoughts become beliefs, beliefs become reality. Mm-hmm. And it happens very quickly in that exact order. And the cool distinction you made about it is that it doesn't have to be your words. Like it can be your words, or it can be somebody else's, or it can be a combination of both. And good or bad, those words that you allow yourself to hear enough, or the words that you allow yourself to speak enough. And I think probably even more significance to the words you allow yourself to speak. Mm-hmm. All of those will turn into your thoughts, which become your beliefs, which become your reality. So, you know, if you speak one thing today, it's going to become your reality tomorrow. Right. And tomorrow can be any point in the future, but that's the process it can go down. And so not only is that an incredible responsibility and power to ourselves, but it's an incredibly powerful responsibility that we hold for other people as well. Mm-hmm. Because you now have the power and the ability to go out and build someone else up or tear them down. I had my high school principal, name's Dan Leffingwell, just a really cool, awesome dude. He's, I think, up in like Noble County now, like superintendent. I can't remember, but he always said there's two types of people: those who build others up and those who tear them down. Mm-hmm. And I always loved that, and it's like still stuck with me to this day. And it's like every day in every situation, you just ask yourself that question, like, am I going to be the person who builds this person up, or am I going to be the person that tears them down? And I promise you, there's nothing more gratifying than being the person who can build others up in so many ways. And like you said, it's so easy. Mm-hmm. It's so easy to do either of those.
Right.
And so because it's so easy, why would you ever waste time or energy tearing someone else down? Mm-hmm. Even if you don't like them, even if you don't agree with them, even if you don't align with them from a belief standpoint, like there's no benefit to tearing somebody else down.
No.
Absolutely none. Where there's so much to gain from building someone else up. Absolutely. And there's so much to gain from building yourself up. So I've been really excited to see a little bit of like this journey you've been on, and just having a small glimpse into it, and especially to see you at the August meet, to go out and, like you say, crush numbers you've never crushed at a lighter weight than you've ever done it. But so much more importantly than that, to have a focused passion and love for what you're doing. Like that's, for me and Austin, that's our favorite thing to ever witness in people. And like we got to see that in you, and we got to see that in so many other people out there. And I absolutely love that. And what's really cool is seeing the impact that you're having on your family through everything you do. And seeing like Leo being able to go out and just this week he decided and agreed, and we got him all hooked up with being able to go out and run the half marathon with us this year. And you and I know, like, he probably doesn't even know the level of impact that's going to have on him, but you and I know like what that's going to mean to him, or at least we have an idea of what that's going to mean to him, because we've had those kind of impactful experiences in our life. And we're just so honored to have him as part of the team, but we're honored to have you as part of the team as somebody who like a parent who like supports him and only works to build him up in every way you can, because you know what he's capable of.
And he's capable of, so I can't wait to see what he does. And both my kids, obviously, but I just know watching him do the things that he does impacts other people, because we know so many families who are going down this road that we went down, and those kids that went before us were the kids that we're looking at. And we were looking at them and like, man, we're never gonna get there. Like you feel like it's forever away, and here we are, and survivorship has happened, which is like amazing and something that I didn't think would ever come. And so now watching him in this, like, we're in survivorship, like we're like, I guess it's like after cancer, you know, it's kind of how it's like the before the BC and the AC, like we're after cancer. And watching him thrive, the thing that chokes me up every time is me thinking of kids that we watched thrive while he was still struggling, because that was the hope that you needed at the time, or at least that we needed at the time. And so he doesn't even know he's that for other people, but I know that he is, because we know families right now going through it, families that we talk to, with kids that were the same age as Leo when Leo was diagnosed. And I'm like, you're going to be here. It seems like a long time, but you're coming. It's coming. And so I can't wait to see him do this, because it's just another thing. Like, look, like there it is. Like, you would never know that he went through what he went through. And I just think that's just such a great, like, testimony and service to others that he doesn't even know that he's doing. And that's what's in a way it's kind of cool about it, because he, like you say, he doesn't even know that he's having this impact that he's having. And you know, I think as he grows older, he'll be able to see more and more of that, and that will drive him more and more. But it was so cool to hear him say on the mic earlier, is that about like running and golfing, and like, why does he chase these things? And he just says, because I love to do it. And that was the most amazing thing like he could have said, because at the end of the day, that needs to be the ultimate reason of why we chase what we chase, because I love to do it, because the process is ultimately the entire journey. And like the loving the process is so huge. Like, I don't know. I love the process. Yeah. And I think my kids know I love the process. And like my oldest, so Nolan, loves the process of trying to become a great golfer. And you know, when you like, you can see when somebody loves the process, because like, it's not that it's not hard. Like, you can love the process, and some days it sucks. Yeah, for sure. So lots of days it sucks. I mean, but that doesn't mean you don't love it. And so watching him, like, I never have to say like, hey, you gonna go? Like, he's always practicing, always trying to prove his game. And I'm like, man, he's caught it with this one. He caught the bug on this one. And it's cool to see that. And I'm seeing that in Leo, in the things that he wants to become good at too. And it's fun watching that, because I just know how happy it makes me. So I feel like I don't care what it is that people want to chase. Like if you're chasing something, it doesn't even have to be a sport related activity, but you love the process. Like I feel like it's apparent to people when people are in love with the process. But that makes me smile just watching people. I don't care what the thing is. It could be the most obscure thing ever, but it makes me happy because I think a lot of people are lacking that because when we talked about earlier, they don't feel worthy to go try things. Like, and you can't find what it is that drives you or that you love until you just do all the things. Yeah. Be the unicorn.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, I was like, we could change the be impossible to be a unicorn. No, I love it because we've talked about it a lot, how the difference between like the process and the destination. And I think there's a lot of people that cover, like on social media and podcasts, that gets covered a lot. And I think it should, because it's highly important. Like ultimately loving the process is the only thing that's going to bring you the ultimate gratification, because you can control the process. You can't control the outcome. Nope. I mean, you can do the process absolutely perfectly at your highest level, and you may not get the outcome you wanted. So if you decide to fall in love with the process because it fills you with passion and purpose, you'll never fail. Right. You will never fail. Even if it wasn't the ultimate outcome you may have wished for, you will still find so much gratification and purpose and meaning just from having worked through the process of it.
The journey.
Yeah. I mean, because that's where you learn, that's where you grow, and that's why we focus so much on the being impossible part so much more than the doing the impossible. Now, we believe that if you do the being impossible part enough, you will eventually do the impossible in some way, shape, or form. It may not have been what you initially had concepted in your mind, but the being impossible is so important, because that's the part that builds you into the person who can do the impossible. It doesn't matter doing the impossible. It doesn't matter what you do. What matters is you built yourself into that person, and that person's going to go out and affect so many other people and so many other things in ways they never could have even dreamed or imagined or hoped for.
Absolutely. I agree with that. And during that journey, I don't know, and I'm sure you feel this way too about the things that you're going after. It's like the more you fall in love with the process, like the more relentless you become in I guess like being respectful of that process, because I feel that way. Like I'm not gonna like half-ass it. That's disrespectful to something that has changed my life. And I truly feel that way. It might sound weird to some people, but
no, it's true. That's why we say, another big thing we say is your potential is your responsibility. Like, it's not something that is even available. It's not something that's just available to you or something you have that you could or could not do. No, it is your responsibility to live at your highest potential in whatever it is you choose to chase in life.
I love that.
And that gives you so much, that by default gives you meaning and purpose to what you're doing. And it also gives you ownership over what you choose to do in life. And I think we've gotten to this point where so many people are lacking value. So many people are lacking self-worth. And because of that, we don't realize that we have ownership over what we do in life. You know, and I see it all the time where people feel like they're stuck in jobs, or they're stuck in maybe friendships or partnerships or whatever it may be, any form of relationship, you know, and they don't feel like there's any way forward or there's any way to change their situation in life. And ultimately, you do have ultimate control over this process you're living.
Because I feel like I've taken control back over the process, and that's empowered me to grow, or allowed me to grow. And that's so important.
Yeah.
Because if something's not working, then you have to find, just staying in a situation that's not working is just insanity. You're just going to keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. So there has to be a way for change. And it might not be the way you want, but it might be the hard way. Change is hard no matter what.
Oh yeah, it's not going to be easy.
But like, I've learned that with discomfort comes lots of growth, and I've found that the growth that has occurred has been so much better than like anything that has happened in the past. And you don't want to stay stuck, because I think that eventually leads to like people quitting on their passion or their dream or whatever it is that they're chasing. And that's sad. Like, that's tragic.
Yeah. It is. And so maybe that's some of the first part of the journey, is just allowing yourself to realize that you do have control over your situation. You know, and I'm sure there's a lot of situations out there where people have more or less control that they can exercise immediately right now. You know, and there's all kinds of really dark places that people can unfortunately end up. But I think at the end of the day, like, we have ultimate control over our own internal state. And by that, we can influence control over the external things going around us. Mm-hmm. And in doing that, you can find potential in any situation. That potential becomes your responsibility to live out for yourself and for others. And I think you can build self-worth and self-value in that. And it's been so cool to watch this journey into where you are now, and to where I know you're going to go in the future. Like, today we were talking about, like, we're looking up, like, what are qualifications for, like, these really high level national meets, like the best of the best. And there's some of them where, like, you've already got that, like, no sweat. You're going to be 10 times better than that by this time next year. And so it's just cool to already have a glimpse at, you know, where you could be, what you could be doing, and to know that you have the ability to chase it. And now, what's so great about all of it is that you will love the process of chasing it no matter where you go.
Yeah, I feel like this is the beginning for me. Like, I felt like August was a new starting point for me, which is awesome, because I'm still like, I'm a baby powerlifter.
A baby elite powerlifter.
No, I feel far from that, but I'm going that. Like, I would love to go that direction, and I just want to become the best that I can possibly be, and I want to reach my potential.
I love it.
And I don't know how long it'll take. Yeah. I'll be really old, maybe.
Hey, it's great. I mean, potential never ends, so you can chase it the rest of your life. And that's what's awesome about falling in love with the process, is you'll fall in love with every day of your life. Like, some days are easier, some days are harder, but ultimately you have a purpose that will guide you and give you meaning to everything you do.
Right.
And that allows you to be willing to exercise so much control over those 24 hours you have every day.
And those 24 hours are such a gift.
Yeah.
Like,
they really are.
I try to live by that, you know, and I always say, like, live like crazy today. Like, do it, because we're not guaranteed anything. Yeah. You obviously have been handed things in life where you experience, like, looking at your own mortality. And, you know, all of us, I think, that have gone through something where you get a glimpse of that, have a different perspective than other people. And I think, although it was through tragedy, there's something beautiful in that perspective, because the perspective that changes your view on those 24 hours is a gift. And I've had to like reframe, seeing that in my mind. It's like, no, like this is a gift, this perspective, even though as hard as it was to have that perspective, it's completely changed my life. It's changed Leo's life. It's changed Nolan's life. And it has allowed us to appreciate the little things
100%.
so much. I mean, just driving down here today, like Leo's like, man, this is a really cool day. And
That's
like
awesome.
we're in
That's
the
so
car.
cool.
We're in the car at like 6 a.m.
Yeah.
Because we stopped
And
out.
what other 13-year-old would be saying that about getting up at 6 a.m.?
I had to stop out at the gym,
Yeah.
at our gym at Uncommon Breed, to grab a couple things. And, he was riding out with me, and he's like, this is going to be a cool day. And I'm like, I love it, and he had just run his cross-country meet yesterday. And it was a long day because there was a random rain delay. Like it thunderstormed, and it was funny this morning. I was like, all right, let's get moving, and he's like, okay. And then he got up and he was ready to go. But it was really cool that he was excited to be here, and it makes me happy that to see him get excited about things.
Well, it's so funny you say that, because Austin said the same thing. When we were leaving the restaurant, he's like, man, this is a good day. And I think he just said it so casually and like not even thinking about it. But when he said it like hit me, and I'm like, this is a good day. Like this, like days like today are the very height of life. And it's not even necessarily because of what we were doing, but it's because we got to come together in a form of community and do what we love and build ourselves up, build the others people around us up, and ultimately put out a message that serves countless people. Like you don't get better than that.
It's a great
day. You
day.
just don't. And I think the case in point to what you were talking about, how you can take life's tragedies and find, yes, as hard as they were to go through, and as much as you wish nobody would ever have to go through that, you can create purpose to that tragedy. And you should, because otherwise you're just left with tragedy. And tragedy without meaning and purpose is, I think, the ultimate form of hell for someone. But by being able to reconcile it, create meaning and purpose for it, you take ownership of it, you build empowerment within yourself. And I think the ultimate case in point for that is, and what I wanted to ask is, knowing everything that you and Leo went through, battling childhood cancer, and your whole family going through that together, to contrast those times to here in less than a month now, Leo's going to cross the finish line at 13 years old for his first ever half marathon. And like, what's that going to mean to you to watch him cross that finish line?
So I was thinking about this driving here, and I got choked up just thinking about it. And of course he would probably be like, why are you crying, Mom?
Well, I get choked up thinking about it, and like he's just, you guys are just friends of ours, so to see it from your own son, I can't imagine.
I remember a time that he was admitted to the hospital, and we were waiting for his ANC to rise because it was 0 and he was febrile, and you can't leave round the clock antibiotics, and you can't leave until it rises. I forget what the magic number was, but it was at least like 300, maybe it was more than 300 that it had to come up to, and he was at 0, and every midnight like he had labs drawn and I'm waiting for him to come back, and it's 0 and 0 and 0, and here we are like 7 days in and it's still 0, and I'm like, how long are we gonna be here? And then the next morning 10, He's like, 10's better than 0, you know? I'm like, okay, I love this child. And I'm like, we got a long way to go before 300 or whatever the magic number. I forget. It was in the hundreds, though, whatever the magic number
generally
was.
300 is a safe number, but you got to be like 750 before you do chemo. Again,
Right.
generally.
So to be able to like leave and go home, he had to rebound so much. So finally we get out after like a 10-day admission or something, and he had like some neuropathy in his legs, and he was on Chad's shoulders, and I have this picture of him like fist pumping, like leaving the hospital, and I'm like, that's gonna be him like crossing a marathon finish line. And that just makes me think about how he was so little, and now like it was an effort for me to put him on my shoulders at at the Pittsburgh relay, because we took a picture afterwards, and now he's about as tall as me, and I can see him coming across there, and I know he's gonna finish it, and I can see him. He probably won't do double fists up like he was when he was little, but I can see him give one of these, because every time he sinks a putt, it's a
I think the thing you'll see is his eyes.
I can't wait.
Yeah, the eyes are like the window into the internal state, and you'll see those same eyes. I'm certain of it.
And so it just kind of brought, like, I really saw that memory like vividly in my head, and then I'm like, boy, like, we've come so far, and he has just surpassed anything I would have ever imagined at that time.
Yeah.
And here we are. So.
And what's crazy is like there's a whole world that's to come. That,
so
like,
much more, which is
you
awesome.
can't even imagine for both your kids and your whole family, and that is the height of life right there.
Yes.
Like having experiences like that, having moments like that. And I think, guys, to circle it back to what we were talking about at the beginning, you may be in a spot right now where you don't feel a lot of self-worth or a lot of self-love, or that you have a lot of value for life. And I want you to know that it's okay if you're in that spot. And maybe what you're going through right now is the tragedy period of your life. But what I want you to recognize is, as hard as it is to maybe think and realize in the moment, even if you're in that tragedy part of your life, you have the power to build meaning and purpose for it. And when you come out the other side and you give meaning and purpose to that tragedy, and you say, yes, this happened to me, but I'm going to go on and do this because of it. Or I'm going to go on and do this to help other people working and fighting through the same thing. When you do that, you will open up windows to experiences in life you never could have dreamed of. And those moments, the emotion and the power and the strength that you build from those moments will give you so much self-worth, so much self-value, and so much love for the life you've gotten to live, and so much love for the life that you've gotten to share with others. And I know Natalie knows exactly what that experience is like, and I know exactly what that experience is like. And I hope that each of you someday get to know what that experience is like, if you've not felt it yet. And if you've already felt it, then I know you're already chasing the next one, because it's those moments that give us so much passion and purpose for life, and give our lives so much significance and meaning, and give us so much worth for ourselves and love for the process of what we're doing. So Natalie, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you being down here today, how much I appreciate you being a part of this team, you and Leo. Just driving forward and chasing everything you're chasing in life. And it's so cool to see out all of the things you're living out in your lives. And like I said, I tell this to so many people, but again, you are a true example of, you embody everything we stand for here. And it's an honor to have you here, an honor to have you as part of the team. And I cannot wait for October 20th to see Leo. Well, I won't see Leo cross the finish line because he'll be light years ahead of me, but I cannot wait to hear about it.
I can't wait to see everybody cross the finish line.
Absolutely.
It's going to be great.
Absolutely. And then maybe next year we'll have you out there with us.
All right.
Sounds great.
I'm up for anything.
You are. You've done crazier stuff than that, I promise you. So, all right, guys, we're going to wrap it up quick here. You know what to do. If this message, which it definitely impacted you positively in some way, and if you know somebody else that you think would get positive insight from this episode, please share it with them, because it's ultimately how we accomplish our mission and our vision for everything we're doing. And that's spreading this message as far as possible to help empower as many people as possible, to help them realize the potential that they hold and help them to take that responsibility and affect the world in as positive a way as they possibly can. So guys, at Impossible Performance, we are building a global culture of strength, fostering a spirit of growth in constant pursuit of the impossible. Thank you for listening, and as always, be impossible.